welcome to another edition of A Cup of Coffee with me, Sandy. And today I'm going to be speaking with a very wonderful young lady, Lara Utian Preston. This is a very special young woman who is doing so much for women and women in film in Africa. And soon we will be speaking with her. She is waiting in the wings to talk to us this evening. And you will find out more about this very special, ingenious young lady who I've known for many years and watched her grow. I hope that you will enjoy it as much as I enjoy talking with her. Let's see if she's in the wings waiting ready for us now. And that somebody happens to be a very young lady that I've known for a very long time, called Lara Utian Preston. And hello to you, well in South Africa, far away from us.
Yes, thank you.
Now, let me just introduce you to my viewers and my friends around the world. I've known you for a very long time, and well, we go back to the last time I actually saw you was in 1976, when you were still very young, and you were in London with your family, and I've kept in touch with the family, but I hadn't kept in touch with you. And then I found you again now, because you have followed in my footsteps a little bit, in as much as I was a PR. You have now got a thriving PR company, and I traveled the world. You are traveling the world, but you are doing something else that's very special. You have opened up something called Women in Film, but that's in Africa. And that is something that is very close to my heart, because obviously I was born there as well. And in my time, the women were not in a man's world, not even in the PR world, as you are, and you're in film and music, as I was. And certainly women of color, Black women, were not given any chance or any opening for experiencing the outside world of film and television. And you, my young lady, have opened all that up. And I can't believe that I am sitting looking at you and knowing how you have grown. So tell me, how did you start?
Well, as you know, when you saw me last, I think we were on our way, or very soon around there, having moved to the US when I was a child.
Yeah.
I came back to South Africa at the end of 1994. Obviously, everything was changing, and it was so exciting, and I wanted to come back and be part of that change. So at that time, my background was in radio, in community radio. So I came back to work with Bush Radio, which was South Africa's first community radio station. And that was kind of how I came back. So I worked there for 6 months while they were still technically illegal, a pirate station. As they became legal, I helped sort of consulted with them on the processes, because I've been working in radio for a few years. And from there, jumped into the music industry. Working in the 90s here, it was a very exciting time, because everything was very hopeful, and there was this wonderful positive energy. And then from there, in the early 2000s, sort of leapfrogged into film and working in film and other creative industries across the African continent, mainly East and West Africa. And it's kind of all just been one progression after another. You know how these things happen. You never know where it's going to lead you, and eventually look back and you go, oh, okay, yes, it all makes sense.
It's just a matter of meeting one person that your life and changes your direction. Not, I always say it's a trunk, and then you've got the leaves that go and the branches that go on the other side, and you never know who you're going to meet and where you're going to land up. But your main business is still a PR, is it not?
Yes, I mean it is, but I'd say I'm kind of in a transition phase as I get older. PR has changed a lot, obviously, since
sure.
Yeah, and these days PR is very much more around social media and cut and paste, and there's less and less like proper journalists that are really wanting to have these kind of conversations. You find your press releases are just cut and paste. So I'm moving more into strategic communications and consulting. PR is a young person's game, especially in the entertainment space. You have to be out there, you know.
Tell me about
parties, which you did, I did.
A long time ago.
Exactly. But even for me, as I, you know, moving into a different phase in my life, I'm getting focusing more on consulting on communications, on programming for events, that kind of thing. So yes, we still do a lot of PR, but I'm definitely in a transition phase where, you know, if I look to the future for myself and what I want to be doing, it's less around PR and it's more strategic and more working with organizations on developing a bigger picture identity of who they are, what they want to be, specifically in the creative space.
Well, you have created something that I knew about in Los Angeles when I lived there, because a girlfriend of mine actually was one of the main people that started Women in Film in Los Angeles. And then I found out that you are Women in Film in Africa, but not only South Africa, all of Africa. And you are giving women the chance to explore, to learn, to just show what they've got inside them, their creativity. And you had the most wonderful seminar, which I watched for three and a half days, of different women discussing different ventures in their lives. And this is what you have opened. And I am so proud of you, because it's a direction that there was a niche. I don't know how you found it, but you found it and you're running with it. And not only running with it, big time, because you've got sponsorship.
Yeah, so our organization is the Ladima Foundation, and there is actually an organization called Women in Film and Television International. We actually work very closely with them, and that's who actually put on that conference in Sweden that I was part of. So but as part of the Ladima Foundation, WIFT is very supportive of us, and we've been very grateful to them. And so and you talked about like how you meet one person. So for me, it was many years ago meeting a friend who's now a dear colleague friend in Nigeria, when I was working there, and her and I were the two co-founders of this organization. And so a lot of the work we do is in Nigeria. And it really came out of her and both of us were working on the Zanzibar Film Festival, and it just things become so apparent, like the lack of amount of women film directors, women taking part in the workshops. And we just decided to start doing something about it more informally. And out of that came this organization, which was only founded in 2018. In February, we'll be 3 years old. But we've done amazing things since then. And we're about to launch our next big project, which is online e-learning for women across Africa. In 7 different disciplines. No, we're actually using, there's a specific e-learning platform called Moodle. So it integrates into our website. So it enables you to do a lot more in terms of curricula and interaction and evaluations. It's specifically designed for e-learning. So.
Okay, I don't know what's happening to our connection, but I hear you, but it's not completely in sync.
Oh.
So we're okay. We're okay. Don't worry.
Okay.
So, is there a difference there's a difference in culture, I am sure, but what about language? Do you use the African languages? Because I know when I grew up, when I got from the country into the city, I only spoke Zulu. I didn't speak English. I had to learn to speak English. So do you speak any of the African languages, or do they all now speak English as a given?
Well, look, funnily enough, we don't do a lot of work in South Africa, just because South Africa actually has quite an advanced film industry. So a lot of the work we do is in Nigeria and Ghana, where most people speak English in the urban centers, and in Kenya, East Africa, it's mainly English and Swahili. But what's interesting is that the one language that we do have to account for is actually French, for Francophone Africa.
And do you speak French?
No, I studied Spanish growing up, and now I wish I'd studied French, because so much of Africa speaks French.
Yes, sure.
And,
sure. And the projects that you have got going in the forefront, give me an idea of what women now are going to be able to do and what they are doing. Editing, filming, scripting.
Everything. Yeah, I mean, our online learning will be directing, editing, cinematography, producing, script writing, animation, and documentary film. Those are the 7 areas we're focusing on. Because what we really, what you find everywhere in the world is what you see in front of the camera is a direct reflection of who's behind the camera. And that's even in terms of how shots are screened, your cinematography, your editing, obviously your script writing, how women are portrayed. And in Africa, is as bad, or in some cases worse than everywhere else in the world, with stereotypes of women on screen, African women being portrayed in very specific ways. And the only way to change that is to get the women behind the scenes. And, a lot of African countries have very patriarchal, strict cultures. And it's even harder for women in many of these countries than I'd say much harder than in Europe. In many African countries, it's frowned upon for a woman to be doing this. So, what we're doing is work that goes alongside, other work that feminists and activists are doing in terms of education for girls and women, all of that. They all have to go hand in hand. But I think, you find that when women are empowered to tell their stories, and these days it's gotten easier. You can make a film on your phone, and finding that voice is such a powerful tool.
Well, the voice is a powerful tool. How are they finding out about what they can now do?
Well, that's one of the things that we always say, is that part of the problem is you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. So, access to the internet obviously is vital. And so one of the things we have is a community, an online community of women in the film industry across Africa. We've got over 1,300 women.
Really?
And part of what we do there is share opportunities. So it's whether it's job opportunities or funding or film festivals. We connect people. It's a way to network, so that women don't, especially, you don't feel isolated and alone, and you realize that there are opportunities you can access, even if you're sitting in South Sudan or Uganda, wherever you are, to be part of a broader community of women, and that there are opportunities you can access.
This to me is so, it's mind-boggling, because today women are equal to men. And now there is no color difference. We've all got the same color blood, and it's now coming through so strongly. And for you to have started all this nearly 3 years ago, there was a foresight from you, for somewhere in your gut or somewhere in your brain or somewhere that came from something that pushed you in that direction, which now is topical, typical, and it's the right time. And I learned by my life in television, timing is all. Yeah. You are now in the right time for all of this.
Yeah, I mean, it is. There's definitely, people have woken up, whether it was the Me Too movement, it felt like all these things came together at one time. And now suddenly, people are really looking at, gender issues and parity, whether it's in film festivals or across the board on directors of company level, those kind of things. So it felt almost like, I guess it's like something was in the air, like so many women or people around the world at the same time, which had just had enough. And on their own started these movements, which have all reached a critical mass. So it's quite amazing, actually. It does feel like something like a...
They're all blossoming. Everything
Yeah.
is blossoming. They're coming out and they're showing they exist. They can do exactly the same as a man. In my day, I was forefront of I was always in a man's business, a man's world. I was too early for my time. But it was a struggle. It's just as much a struggle now, even for the women, but you're all together. It's not just one person. It's a group, but it's not a group in Africa. It's a group worldwide.
And I think it's something we talk about a lot, is this idea of, like, you know, being the only woman in the room, you know, whether you're at a boardroom table or at a film shoot. And what we've been saying is, especially to like women in power, women in influence, like, if you're the only woman in the room, you should be ashamed of yourself. Because like, if you're a woman of influence and you're in that position, why are you not bringing up? Why are you not mentoring? You can no longer have this thing of, you know, I'm the only woman in the room now. There's no excuse for it in this day and age. You know, so we really encourage mentorship and collaborative working together, because that's the only way it can change. You don't want to be the only woman in the room in 2020. You know,
Absolutely not.
And you must force those others, and you know, and that's where the 2020 or 50-50 by 2020 movement, you know, came from.
Sure. I saw during the seminar, there was a very interesting interview of a lady whose name has just escaped me. She's based, I think, now in America. She is American, and she is now one of the most powerful ladies in television. She's got her own television company, and I'm searching for her name. Help me.
I'm not sure who it was. I'm not sure which one it was at the conference.
Starts with an M. Her name starts with an M.
I don't remember either.
She's one of the richest women. She's even been in Forbes magazine, in Forbes list.
I'm not sure who it was either. But,
an incredible lady. And I've just seen so many of young, beautiful women, Black women, who are not now just models. They've got a brain, they've got a soul, they are doing things with their lives, and you are just pushing them in the directions that they didn't know about. And that's what I find so fascinating. So where do you see yourself, you, Lara Utian Preston, going? Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Max, please. No, Max, I'm busy.
Okay,
No.
God bless.
Working mothers. The reality of working.
Your mother, you are businesswoman. You know, you all rolled into one.
Yeah.
This is what women are. But we were, even in my day. We weren't as accomplished as you are today. I don't know how you managed to find funding, and that I think is a very big plus.
Yeah, look, we've got funding at the moment. We've got a very great partner, the Deutsche Welle Academy from Germany, but finding ongoing funding is a huge challenge and probably our primary focus, because when you say, where do I see myself?
Yes.
I mean, if I were to say in 3 years or 5 years, I would like to only be focused on the nonprofit work. So, kind of leave behind the PR agency and that work. I would obviously take all those skills in service of what we do. I mean, I do the publicity and marketing for Ladima. I work on our brand, all of that. But yeah, and that's all dependent on finding sustainable funding. We do have some revenue models. But any endeavor like this, working across Africa, you absolutely need funding. There's no way to do this as a profit business and still give what you need to give. And we need funding. So that's the primary focus, is to find that funding and to get to a point where the team can work full time on Ladima, because at the moment we're all kind of doing it half time. Max, please don't.
I love it. It just shows it's live and it's a family.
So yeah, that's the goal, is to find that funding and eventually completely pivot towards, I mean, because I just feel like if, you know, all of us are doing this kind of part-time and we've achieved so much, like I can only imagine what we would achieve if, you know, that there's about 3 or 4 of us. If we were the 4 or 5 of us working full-time, it would just be incredible. So that's
the lady that you first started with.
Her name is Adima Otuakon.
Okay.
And she's based in Abuja, Nigeria.
Okay. And where did the name of the company come from?
So it's actually Lara and Adima.
Yeah, I thought so, but I wanted to ask just in case.
It feels so vain now, but at the time it was kind of a joke. We never thought it was going to be, you know, so big. We were always together and always running around and doing things, and it was just like we were Ladima. So it made sense that it was like both of our passions. It's not supposed to be an arrogant thing, but yeah.
To me, it's not arrogant. How do you manage to get some of the films from your Black ladies into the film festivals? And I know that you had a competition recently.
Yeah, so I mean, that's not our primary focus. We did, with the project we recently did, which was this call for short films around COVID-19, while everyone was in lockdown.
Yeah.
We put this call out to make 2-minute films around African women's experiences of COVID-19. So we got nearly 200 entries, and we put together a 20-minute documentary a 20-minute compilation of the top 10. And that's been shown at a number of festivals in the UK, in South America. And now what we're about to do with those is part of the funding we've gotten from Deutsche Welle is we're doing a feature-length documentary that's going to include about 40 of the films, they're 2-minute films. It'll include parts of the films, but it's going to be more about the women and the stories behind the films, because there were some key themes that came out around domestic abuse and violence against women, the economic challenges that fall on women, childcare, and the resilience and hope of African women. So with that documentary, we hope to submit that to festivals. There's already interest based on the short one from festivals like in Rotterdam and Amsterdam. So
what about France? Do you think there's any chance of going to the Cannes Film Festival?
Never know. We will apply. I mean, the team that's putting this documentary together is amazing, and the content we have is amazing. So I think we'll definitely be sending it to all the major festivals, because these women's voices, we spoke about the voices as well. We thought it was just so brave that nearly 200 women, some of whom you could tell weren't filmmakers, they just picked up a phone or a camera just to tell their stories. So we want to honor their bravery in those voices by sharing this.
Absolutely. And you mentioned it really was very special for them to open up, because every woman has got a story, but when they're in Africa and when they are suppressed, and to then have the courage of their conviction to share what is going on inside them with the rest of the world in a 2-minute slot, that is 1 feat on its own.
And like I say, some of them you could tell were quite personal and autobiographical and quite like traumatic in a sense. But there were also just beautiful stories of hope. And I think that's also what's so important, is that not every story from Africa is a negative story. And I think that's also really important, is that when women share their stories of hope and resilience, that's also a really beautiful thing. And I think it's also about breaking down those stereotypes of, you know, and what's interesting, I mean, that the similarities, you know, I think it's just like that women across the world, whether you're in Africa, women across the world face domestic violence, women across the world have economic challenges. So I think it's just really important also to show the agency of African women. They have, you know, everyone has their own voice, and it's just that historically African women's voices haven't been centered or heard.
Yeah, it's for me, it's a tremendously interesting concept. I am desperate to see the next step, but what I would love to hear from you is one hopeful story that came out of the 200 that you whittled down to? Can you remember one without mentioning any names?
There was one that was really lovely. It actually didn't make it into the top 10, but it really resonated with me. It was about a deaf, I think it was from Egypt, and how she made a connection just through a window during COVID, during lockdown, with the neighbor. And basically, like, they created their own sign language, and she needed help, but she managed to create this connection and get what she needed. Yeah, it was just a really, I can't remember the name of it, so I wouldn't be able to, but it was a beautiful, touching film, just about, like, especially a woman with a disability in lockdown, and yet she was able to make this connection during that time.
Black women all over Africa really struggled in lockdown time?
I wouldn't say it's just Black women. I think just women in Africa. I mean, you know, I think women around the world have struggled. I think it exacerbated. I think it highlighted some of the inequalities that are existent everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think the problem very much also just became, again, possibly everywhere. You know, if you're in an abusive situation, you are now locked in with your abuser, and that was a theme that came out a lot.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think that's, in some ways, that's a universal theme, sadly. But I think it just highlighted the inequalities. So, you know, in Africa, we have a lot of very unequal societies in any case. And then within that, women are even more unequal. So I think it highlighted all the existing fault lines, and we've seen it in America, we've seen it everywhere in the world. Whatever existing problems or fault lines, it just kind of threw them into focus. And I think for African women, that was a big thing. It's thrown a lot of the systemic, the lack of access to financial resources, to education, all those things. Yeah.
Until you manage to get the group, say the group of 6, who will be the backbone and do everything that you want to do, you are going to continue doing your PR, obviously. Any clients that want representation in your field would come to you. Would they come to you via Ladima? How do they come to you?
So my website is redflag.africa.
Okay.
And I mean, there we work with a lot of clients. If you're looking to, we work with music festivals, film production houses, film festivals, film markets, anyone who'd be wanting to kind of operate and work within a creative space in Africa. We can assist in terms of publicity, communications, finding strategic partnerships. I mean, right now we're working on this massive project for the African Export-Import Bank, which is going to be the creative program at the Intra-Africa Trade Fair in 2021 in Kigali. So this is a massive 7-day event. We're putting together the entire creative program. There's a 2-day summit. So that's going to bring together government, business, creatives, for really looking at the ecosystem of the creative industries. How you get financing, how do you monetize, how do we create an ecosystem that works? So that's kind of
all this.
I don't
and running a home, and got a family, and got little boys who are running backwards and forwards behind you and waving, and I love it. How are you managing it?
I've got amazing people that I work with. So like Adima is one of them. She's working with me on this other project. I've got a partner in Kenya. So it's about finding the right people to work with. Yeah. You can never do these things alone. I mean, I think anyone who claims to do it alone is lying. So
absolutely,
it's about working with the right people that you can trust, so that you know that if you hand it over, it's done to the way that you want it to be done. So it's all about trusting people.
Trust is the beginning and the end of everything, of life, generally. Yeah. You don't trust, you've got nothing. So when is this big event going to be taking place?
It's a year from now, in September. It was supposed to be this year, but it got moved till September next year. And from the 6th to the 12th. Yeah, in Rwanda.
In Rwanda. So you then travel over there with your group of people and you work from there, and it's the week. And
yeah, we'll probably be there for about 3 weeks. We'll probably have to be there about 10 days before the event. It's a huge event. I mean, we're just running the creative side, but there's a massive African Trade and Investment Expo that's running concurrently. So we've been appointed to do the creative industry side, but we're just one part of this massive event. So it's a huge event. Yeah, it's
I want to tell you something, Lara. Lara Utian Preston, you are an amazing young woman. I am so proud of you. I really take my hat off to you, and I just want to share the excitement that I'm sure that your family have got, and the feeling that they have got of joy that you are bringing to them as well, because I know them so well, and I feel as proud as they do. And I just want to say good luck with everything you're doing. Please keep me posted if there's anything that we can do from here that will help, because we are all women together. Let us know. But in the meantime,
anyone can feel free to contact me, and if they reach out to you, and you know, you can put them in touch with me.
Only if they promise to wave. Who is running behind? Which little boy is it?
It's Max.
Hello. Well, Max, where are you? I would say goodbye.
Bedtime now. It's supposed to be bedtime.
Now he's suddenly shy. So now, there you are. Max.
That's Max. That's
goodbye to all of us. Come and say goodbye to all of us here in Spain.
Wait, is that the lady who gave the message to Granny?
Yes. Yes. Okay.
You messaged your granny, because I know them for such a long time, and I know your mummy when she was your age.
Younger than you.
Younger than you. So we go back a long time, but I am so proud. And who are you?
So those are my two boys. Jack, and that was Max.
Yeah. And lovely to see you all. And I just want to say it's been a joy to share a cup of coffee with you.
Thank you.
And I am sure that all our viewers will find it as interesting as I have. And we wish you lots and lots of luck. Thank you for spending the time. And I know that your days are so full.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Take care. God bless. Stay safe. And to everybody who is watching me, I say thank you for sharing a cup of coffee with me, Sandy, and I will see you again the next time. But in the meantime, stay safe, stay positive, and see you again. Take care. Bye-bye.